It's good, y'all. Quick message for you real quick before I start my day. I just wanted to say that y'all need to really chill out with the expectations that you have on other people. Y'all really need to chill out with the expectations that you have on other people. For one, that's one of the reasons that's causing you heartbreak. That's one of the reasons that's continuously having you in your feelings. You see what I'm saying? The one thing that you got to understand about people is that people are who they are. And if you decide to deal with individuals, whether it be a friend, even your family or your romantic interest, you have to understand that you're going to have to meet them where they are. Bottom line, you're really going to have to meet them where they are. And that's why it's important that when you create these bonds with people and you try to build these relationships, that you take your time and really, get to feel them out and see what they about and how they are as a person. You know what I'm saying? Because based on that information that you receive during that time, it's going to let you know. And you have to be completely honest with yourself. It's going to let you know whether or not you are willing to meet them where they are. And I think that's where people mess up at a lot of times, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand that first and foremost, everybody's definition of love is different. And then you got to understand that depending on people's background, their childhood and stuff like that, like they may not, understand love and stuff in the way that you do. Or they may show love in a different way. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that you have to meet people where they are. You can't come into nobody's life and try to change them on some abrupt shit or, even be wasting your time nagging and complaining about shit, because you got to understand people can only give to you what they have. And if they're at a certain place in their life, they can only be so much to you. You know what I'm saying? Because of where they are, who they are at that moment in their life. And the one thing about life is you go through these experiences, right? And a lot of times who we think we are isn't really who we are. We evolve continuously in life due to our experiences. You know what I'm saying? And when you sit there and you evaluate yourself, you look back at everything that you've been through, everything that you've gone through, and you have to determine, what good thing or what positive thing should I keep about myself? You know what I'm saying? And you got to release the rest. But it's a continuous evolution of yourself depending on what you're going through. So you got to allow people that time and that space to evolve, and a lot of times if there's something about people that they need to change within themselves, they know. It's just a matter of when they're ready to make those changes. And you can't rush that process. Just like with yourself. You can't rush the process. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn to meet people where they are. And that's why expectations on people will have you fucked up mentally and emotionally. And I get it that, when you come into people's lives, you tend to expect the same in return. How you treat them, you tend to expect that back. But the reality of it is you may not get that back. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's for you to decide. You either gonna stick around until one day you see it happen, if it happens, or you'll realize that, how they are and what they give is not in your best interest. And it's okay if you feel like you gotta walk away from that. But the expectations that you place on people, that's what's breaking your heart. You know what I'm saying? That's what's having you in your feelings. And you gotta understand that people are who they are. And especially the older we get, the more set in our ways we become. You see what I'm saying? So some shit you can't tell people. What they see, their perspective, how they look at things, that's just how the fuck it is with them. And it ain't nothing you can say or do about it. So be mindful of the expectations that you put on people. You don't want to have to force anything from anybody. With your friendship, especially your romantic interest, you don't want to have to force or feel like you're begging somebody to give to you in ways that you would like to see them given. You want that shit to come natural. And I know for me in the past, that's what I used to do. And I look back on that shit now and I laugh at it like, bro, you was tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's what happens when you don't know any better. You know what I'm saying? We were taught that, you know, if you give, you should, you know, give in the way that you want back given to you. So when you don't receive that, then you start to feel some type of way. But through your growth, you'll understand that that's just not how it is. You got to meet people where they are. And if you meet them at a place in their life where they don't have all their shit together, or, you know, they emotionally unavailable and stuff like that, then you can't get mad at that. If you stuck around, you can't get mad at that. You knew that, and you still decided to stick around. You still decided to put up with them, and you know what I'm saying? And we all done did that shit. So at the end of the day, learn to not put expectations on people. You want that shit, first of all, you want that to come naturally. You don't have to force anything. And secondly, you have to be mature enough to understand that people are who they are. And if they make changes, that's up to them. It's when they're ready to do that.